Today on the Ave Podcast, I guess I should warn you guys, for those who haven't watched the show yet. Spoiler alert. But we're doing a prequel pod on the Fresh Prince of Bel Air reboot called, of course, Bel Air. And I'm joined by my South Sharav family member Headley as we break down and discuss our thoughts on the reboot, the casting of Will Smith, our thoughts on the most intriguing characters of the show. I'll give you a hint. They may or may not have a beard. And, of course, Carlton. If you know, you know. Seriously, if you know, you know. Because, man, it's a hell of a character. Listen to us break it down on the mini episode. We're going to blow it out more in a couple of weeks when the season finale drops. But I thank you for tuning in already in advance. And with that said, South Sharav is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit the like and subscribe button. Leave your reviews and comments on the show. Plus, it's considered a great gesture when you leave stars for your hosts, especially when you leave said hosts with those 5 stars. Well, I'm a host. I have my own podcast. You're listening to me right now. I know you can't see it right now, but my hand is actually out. Give it to me. And to check out my latest episodes, you can always scroll through my pod feeds wherever you're listening to them. And if you want to dive even further, check out southsharav.com for my entire catalog of all my shows and my write-ups. Once again, that's southsharav.com. It's the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Sharav Radio. I looked at my kingdom. I was finally there to sit on my throne. I want my 5 stars.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Sharav Radio.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast, where I'm joined by my South Sharav family member Headley. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
No, I'm good, man. Bel Air time, man. Let's get into it. It's crazy when a thought becomes a thing, and then that thing goes viral, and then it actually becomes a TV show that people watch, right? So when Morgan Cooper created that fan trailer of the 21st century version of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, it ended up going viral as it was so well produced that people even thought it was a new version of Fresh Prince that was coming. It caught the eye of Will Smith and the original creators of the show. Some moves were made, and all of a sudden, here comes Bel Air, an updated, fresh look on the classic 90s sitcom. And I'm giving you the short version of it, of course. But, with that said, we've had discussions offline about this. But what are your thoughts on Bel Air so far?
Well, I got to touch on the whole creation. I mean, welcome to the life of social media.
Right?
Like, have we ever heard of such a story? Like, we've heard of people, who started like an online, and then, end up creating their own show. Like, obviously,
Insecure.
we always talk about Insecure,
Yeah.
and even that Canadian Sing, I forget her first name, who had her own talk show at one point. But it all originated where they're doing something online.
Yeah, Lily Singh.
But Lily Singh, that's it. I couldn't remember her first name. But this actually came from literally like one story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe not a story, but like one post.
Yeah, it was one post.
And
You're right.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. It literally came from one post, and it blew up from there. And yeah, you're right. When I saw it, I mean, it was so well put together. It really could have been a trailer. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It really could have been a trailer for a movie. And that's what I love about Will Smith, because he's active in social media, not overactive, like he's not hyperactive on it,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a guy that if he sees something, he'll address it and give that person his 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But he saw this is like, this person deserves a whole lot more than just 15 minutes, and it created a real show. And now to your original question about how I love it. Actually, I just answered it. I do love it, and it's funny because we talked about it. Like the critics were killing it, and I was hooked after the first episode.
Yeah, the critical part of it made no sense, to be honest. After watching the first episode, I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
Remember, I think I even hit you up like, yo, am I missing something? Like, why are people ripping this? People are ripping this? Like, I don't understand.
I don't get it. And then you know what? It's funny because I spoke to your brother about it, and he was saying that his daughter was saying that he may not like it because it's obviously not your original Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Fresh
Right.
Prince of Bel Air was a 30-minute sitcom comedy. This is an hour drama. So, yes, if you were expecting the mid '90s show, then maybe you were disappointed. However, from when you saw the trailer, you knew they weren't going in that direction.
Right.
So, and quite honestly, and I know we'll get into it, some of the character stories that they made, to me, it's probably pretty realistic.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you may not like it because it's not made for ABC story time,
Right.
but it's realistic, and I appreciate it. It was good. I thought it was a good look.
Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying the show so far, and I think the fact that they kept it serious, it gives the show like a new spin in a way that's it's actually really hard to compare the two shows, and I think and just because of that, it makes it refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. Because sometimes when they do like reboots,
Right.
and the reboots is basically the exact same show.
Right.
But yeah, honestly, the premise is the same. But after when you take that premise, yeah, they're going in all different directions with it. And I shouldn't say that because they're still keeping key elements of what that person represents.
Right.
Those key elements are still the same, but I feel like now they're actually they're diving deeper into their characters than we ever saw on the comedy show.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, if they try to touch on your point, like if they try to go to the comedic route, even in the sitcom without like the studio audience, like like a Blackish or like a mockumentary style, like like the show like The Office or like Modern Family, I think it would lend itself to much more criticism. Even though we're talking about how it got criticized or started getting criticized from before. I think what I like about it is that even though they went another direction, to your point, like it still honors the original stories in a tasteful way. Like the stories are intact. The secondary characters, they're used even though it's a different way, like Jazz and Lisa. We haven't even gotten to the whole thing about Lou. Like Lou seems to be coming. Like that storyline seems to be coming as of this recording.
Yeah.
Like it's not here yet, but it's subtly done. You know what I mean? Which is like, I think that's the part I like too. It's not. It's like as you said. It's they're touching on the original points of those characters' storylines, but it's their characters and their storylines, but it's done subtly. It's not something that's it's like like, oh, I remember it from like they'll mention certain names or certain topics like Shrey. Like for example, he was in that episode. The first episode. Where a couple of guys are up to no good. Like they'll make little lines like that, little things like that. But so it's almost like a head nod. You know what I mean, to the original show without it being like overly like, oh my gosh, I know they got it from. They got this episode. They're redoing this whole episode of such and such. It's like it's done in little ways where it's like it's a head nod, it's a tip of the cap, but it's not done the full way.
And what I even liked about this is that everybody knows that this was Will Smith's first acting gig.
Right.
Did you know that the guy that's playing Will something Banks, I forget his first name.
Jabari Banks.
Yeah, it's actually his first acting gig as well too.
Yeah, I was seeing that, and apparently he was about the same age that Will was when he did his when he started Fresh Prince.
Yeah, because I think he's 20 and Will was 21 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Early 20s, but they still have that high school kind of look because he's young.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I don't know if that was purposeful. That if Will wanted to, give somebody a crack in the industry, like he got a crack in the industry.
Yeah.
But I found that was kind of, kind of amusing. Like, okay, that they actually did that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the other thing I like about it too is, unlike the first, the original series, I like that it's a little more Philly centric. You know what I mean? In terms of like the slang, and I'm not saying, the other characters, more so for Will, right? Because the whole thing of like anybody from Philly knows is like, the whole thing of John, right? Like, as you know, like that's something.
Yeah. It's funny when they didn't mention that because I just think of Visions, right?
Yeah.
I was dying.
But
Shout out to Vision Poet.
shout out to Vision the Poet for real. But that's the thing, right? Like it's very Philly centric, especially those first couple of. I mean, the first episode was it Freeway? Was it Freeway like the assistant coach at one point?
Oh shoot, was it?
Yeah, you remember there was a guy that was coming.
That's
Giving,
what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's
It's
like
true.
so
Now
I'm
that I
like
think about it, with the beard,
lots
it
of
could have
Meek,
been.
yeah, lots of Meek Mill. You know what I mean? Like they went Philly, they went hard Philly, which I liked because it's like other than Will saying we all knew Will Smith was from Philadelphia, but outside of that and him wearing like Eagles, like Eagles like shirts and that stuff in the first couple seasons, you never really thought of Will being from Philly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They really didn't touch that as much at all.
No,
I mean, when you think about it, the whole Bel Air was basically placed in Bel Air. There really was no kind of flashbacks to Philly, other than the opening credits about him coming from Philly. They really didn't touch on that too much
right.
throughout the seasons, and we've already felt like, as you said, we've touched on that quite a bit already in the first season itself.
Yeah, for sure. Because even in like not to compare, but like even the original, the guy that beats up Will and has Will running to Bel Air, I think it was only like maybe like 4 or 5 seasons later he finally runs up on that guy, and by that time, if you remember the episode, by that time the guy's like a nice guy. He's not like a bully anymore. You know what I mean? Whereas like this
I couldn't
season,
remember that.
right? But in this series, that guy's like a shooter. That guy's a thug, and he's trying to like. You know what I mean? He's trying to send the wolves to him. When he finds out he's in L.A., he's trying to send the wolves to him, and he ends up he ends up dying. Spoiler alert for people who aren't watching the show, but yet, it's like,
but as you said, it's a drama, right? It has more grit,
right?
Right?
No, it definitely dives deeper into it for sure. But what are your thoughts on Jabari Parks playing Will Smith so far as well?
Interesting enough, Calvin. He's probably my least favorite in terms of the acting and I want to say believability and all that stuff. I find that I just find the acting and with the other characters stronger.
Yeah, okay.
Than him.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
But as I said, he's new. It's his first gig. I love it because it's always hard to get in and crack the industry. I think he'll probably get stronger as the seasons go. Obviously, I hope to God that this doesn't get canceled after one season, that people start tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly.
You know what I'm thinking of? Like, hoping this, as you said, that hoping this will become. Remember that show back in the '90s, and it was good, and it lasted. Remember what was it called? South Central, and it had like Lawrence Tate and all these people in it. I'm not sure. If you remember that. And it was like it was like after the first season, you're like, wait a minute, it's done? Like how the hell? But it was like the show was good. So so to your point, like I hope it doesn't do that. But go on. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, but I think he would get stronger as the seasons progress.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I caught myself a couple of times be like, yeah, I wasn't really feeling him. But I'm not gonna take that away from the show, or take away from him, seeing that this is his first real gig.
You know what it is with him though? Like, I don't mind him personally, right? Like, because it kind of speaks to what we're saying about just a new spin. I think he does a pretty good job playing the role. Like, yeah, I do agree with you in terms of the actors. There's other actors in there being stronger, but and I think with him, he kind of fits the look of what Will would look like in 2022. You know what I mean? Like he does have that, like, just the look, just the whole look and swag of him. Just it reeks of like like this era right now, which I'm fine with, right? But you know what it is? I think with. And yes, as we know, that was Will's first acting gig, but that wasn't the first time we saw Will, right? Like, we knew Will as the Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, so he was a star before that, right? So
yeah, true.
I feel like it's kind of like like Will dominated. You know what I mean? He didn't dominate the screen like Will Smith did in the 90s, right? Like,
exactly.
That episode is like that episode, but the show was more about him. Most of the storylines was about him, but I feel like even though, Jabari is like the main character of the show, the way it's done, it feels more like he's like the lead of an ensemble cast.
Yeah, I agree completely with that statement.
Right.
I would agree completely with that statement.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? Like the storylines, it's still about him, but it doesn't really feel that way, right? Which I actually don't mind it. Like I think,
No, I
some
mean me neither. Me neither.
yeah, because
I
some
like the different storylines. I mean, we're gonna get into some of them, but yeah, it's intriguing. It's intriguing when you got different storylines, not sure where it's gonna go. Um, it makes it more compelling, and that's the thing with dramas. Like usually with comedies, half-hour comedies, 20-minute comedies. You think about the commercials.
right,
There really is not really much time to develop too many different storylines at once,
right,
right? While with this drama, you could see already multiple ones that are being played out.
that are bubbling below the surface, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I mean,
Exactly.
some of the best shows, and yeah, as you said, because of you get the extra half hour or what have you, like, so you could draw on those storylines a little more. But the best shows on TV are the ones that everybody has a storyline where you
Yeah.
build it out that way, and to your point, like it allows for more creativity and those storylines to grow out further and deeper. As you were saying, as opposed to wrapping it up in the first or within 22 minutes, right? Like,
Yep.
like I feel like. So I feel like there's a lot of storylines for him to go, and it's interesting to see. But I feel like that's the like if you're gonna compare, that's the way I will look at it. It was like he's like it's almost like the lead actor, the main actor on a Broadway stage. You know what I mean? Like it's like yeah, he's the main one, but there's so much other people that you're gonna want
Yeah.
to focus on, and you might have your favorites, and everything else. Here's my next question. I want you to really soak this in with the way I ask it. Carlton, go.
Yo, you know what? I like Carlton. I like who they casted.
I love
He
Carlton. I love Carlton.
he's honestly, I don't know him outside of this character. Like I've never actually even seen him really acting before.
Yeah.
However, he just I feel like if he walked in the studio, I'd be like, yeah,
Or
that's
like
or that
casting, right? Like if
yeah. I'm like, that's him. That's him, right?
Mhm.
This just down to like obviously, the build, the height, the way that he talks. I mean, who knows? I'm just saying that I'm acting like he could be completely different in real life.
Right.
But I'm just saying that I thought he was perfect. I'm loving Carlton, man. And again, I know a lot of people was like, yo, they got Carlton as a cokehead, sniffing lines and all this stuff. But I'm like, we have to think about this is we're talking about 2022, uber rich kid, exclusive private school. Are they getting into stuff like this? Obviously, this is TV, so everything is going to be embellished, right?
Mhm.
But are we going to try to act like this is a storyline that could not happen? So, and that's the thing. I love the fact that they pushed that. You know what I mean? That's what you're supposed to do. Not he's not squeaky clean Carlton from the comedy show, right? He's still about his grades. He's still about that. He's still an arrogant, pompous, but he has an edge to him.
Yeah.
And I love I love the fit that they got for him. I like it.
I'll be honest with you, man. Once I saw him sniffing Xanax or coke in the beginning of the series, Eddie, I actually smiled because
Yeah.
because honestly, the first thing I thought was like, this is exactly what Carlton would be doing or getting into if he was growing up now. Like people always think about, it's the hood dudes or the poor people that are doing the drugs.
Nah.
When sometimes
Exactly.
we know this because we went to certain
Exactly.
schools like, and we didn't go to rich schools, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's the rich kids that get the most lit and the most high a lot of times in these situations too. Like, so, you're not looking, you're looking down when you should be looking, more up to see like what these cats are doing. And sometimes it's worse than what the people at the bottom are doing.
Exactly.
Right. So
Nah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I caught people off guard. I wasn't expecting it.
nah.
Not so soon, at least.
Right.
You know what I mean? But hey, it's a storyline, and obviously, not to predict where it's going, but I feel like he's gonna kick that. He's gonna sober up, and Will's gonna help him with that pass. So I can see.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe, yeah, you know, who knows exactly? Who knows? But obviously, I just see, you know, we're already seeing it, and actually we're seeing it kind of quick. I didn't expect to see Will and Carlton bond so quickly.
Hmm.
You know, I would have liked that to be a little longer, but they seem to be, you know, getting along. But I think that obviously they're going to help each other, just like they really did in the comedy series. But I think they're going to help each other out.
Yeah,
And that's obviously one of the vices that he needs help with.
yeah, and just get an understanding of each other, I guess, right? Like,
But dude, man, how are you gonna take your cousin's ex-girlfriend? Like for real? I was like that don't fly, son.
now that was one of the questions I was gonna ask you. Like,
I was like, that
we,
don't fly.
we know Carlton's a dick, right? Like, even in the older one, he was a bit of a dick. He's a real dick in this one. But does he deserve Will scooping up Lisa?
No, hell no. That I was like, yo, come on, dude. That was flying a little too close to the nest. You know what I mean? Like, yo, they're gonna really have Lisa there. Been with Carlton. I know they made it sound like the relationship was messed up, but now she's back in the same house with the cousin and Aunt Vi and all of them looking at this like this is normal.
I know.
Come on, son. You know that wouldn't fly.
There's somebody in the house giving a dirty side eye to Lisa when she's
That's
coming
what-
in the house. Even if she's a teenager, even if they love her, they're like, yo, like
Yo,
somebody's
that
being
was-
like, yo, this is messed up.
I was like, this don't make no sense. That's the part. I was like, this don't make no sense. Come on, man.
You're
Come
right.
on.
I never thought about the fact that nobody's addressing it because somebody would pull Will aside and be like, yo, Will, I don't think you should be doing this. Now, mind you, they kicked off before Carlton knew, right? But even with that said, like, I had this debate with the wife because she's like, you know, when people are feeling each other, you know, sometimes it supersedes it. I'm like, nah.
Fuck
Nah.
that. Fuck that. Yo, I like, come on, man. I'm thinking about as a father, and I'm seeing that. I'm like, hold up. What's really going on here?
100%.
But
100%. You're like, okay, son, like it's almost like the birds and bees conversation. Like, son, let me tell you something about guy code. This is how guy code works. You know what I mean? And just sitting him down and breaking the whole
yeah,
thing
but
if you
that's
didn't know
the thing.
about it before.
Will knows guy code.
Yeah,
Like,
by
come
this
on,
point,
man.
of course, absolutely.
you
But he
don't
may
gotta
need a
tell him that.
refresher. He may need a refresher on it. You know what? I like. You know what? I like the fact though. It's funny this. Let me say it's funny to say this, but I like the fact that Lisa is like thicker than you know what I mean.
Yo,
Like the original one.
Yeah, I like. There's a few shows like that. I find now that, you know, prototypical leading lady, they're changing it up, right?
Right.
But yeah, I noticed that too. And I think maybe because, you know, obviously you got young daughters, it's good to see stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think going back to Carlton though, like his character kind of hits on all the marks, right? Because like even that episode where you know where he was singing with his teammates in the locker room, the lacrosse locker room, and he was cool with his teammates, you know, saying the N word, like it shows that like level of detachment, you know, from his own people. You know what I mean? I think honestly, like I think his character has the most range, man, because he's anxious, he's jealous, he's supremely territorial, he's also detached. You know what I mean? He lives in a bubble that separates him from his own, you know, like from the you know from the culture, from the community. But like, you know that scene at the party where he's kicking it with the sister. You know what I mean? And when Will had the party for him and he walks away from his own party when
She basically called him a sellout.
When she basically called him a sellout, right? Like, you know what? It kind of reminded me of like, you know, again, I hate to quote, you know, or to compare the shows, but like the original show when Carlton was like. I don't know why I thought about this, but like, remember with that episode where Carlton was trying to make the fraternity and the head of the frat house wouldn't let him in because he wasn't black enough?
I was just about to mention that too.
Yeah.
I was just about to mention that because they got this guy playing lacrosse and everything too.
Right.
You know what, Calvin? You know what I really appreciated though is that same episode you're talking about when he's obviously trying to reinvent himself. Will does this party for him, talking to the sister. You know what I mean? But what I liked is that he caught himself. He kicked his friend to the curb that was obviously racist and all that stuff. But he still kept his core, like he still has the same friends. They're not making him go from extreme right to extreme left.
Right.
So I like the fact that they're like, okay, you know what? Carlton is still going to be Carlton, but they're obviously going to make him a little bit more conscientious of his environment and who he is and stuff like that. So I like that. You know, who knows where they're going to go, but they're not making it too drastic, because then you'd be like, okay, this is getting a little bit too extreme.
Right.
So I appreciated how they did that, right?
No, yeah.
And then just the fact that she noticed it and, you know, gave him a little head nod, like, okay, you know what? You may not have full access to your black card, but we're gonna give you we'll give you weekends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're gonna give you trial membership. We're gonna give you 40 hour access.
Exactly.
And it could set up for something later too, right? Like you don't know where that can
go.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You can see, yeah, exactly. You can see that as you said, there's Carlton. There's so many places that they can go with Carlton. Yeah. So many places.
Super realistic, you know, and to think that like a black wealthy kid that comes from privilege and is like filled with like a ton of pressure, you know, from following in the footsteps of the family's success, like, you know, to think that a character like this wouldn't go down these dark places, especially in the era of social media, you know, trying to live up to expectations, you know, in this era, like to me, I'm like, I think it's casted perfect from the way they wrote it. And the person that they gave the role to, I'm gonna find his name while I'm talking to you now, but the actor's name. But I love the fact that, like, I think he's probably the most perfectly casted person in the show. Like I'll go as far as to say that. I think his role is awesome, to be honest with you. So like I said, this is like a prelude because you know, there's 2 more episodes left, and I definitely want to dive deeper, you know, in the next episode. So this one's going to be shorter, of course. So and I definitely want to dive into like more of the storylines, especially the women on this show. You know, Aunt Viv. We haven't discussed Aunt Viv. We haven't discussed Hillary, which I really like Hillary's character.
So do I.
You know, for a plethora of reasons, as
exactly.
As your Quiet Storm voice is alluding to right now. With that said, though, before we wrap this up, you know, and come back in a couple of weeks to like I said, to do part 2.
Oh, we're not getting into any other characters just yet today?
I want to get it. Yeah, I want to get into Uncle Phil and everybody else, but this is okay. Well, my last question is, who's your most intriguing character? I know we got the same answer here. We must have the same answer, but I love to hear if it's different.
Well, you know who it is, man. It's Jeffrey. The Jeffrey character in the original sitcom, not to say that he was an afterthought, but he was definitely a secondary role. Mm-hmm. I really feel like even though Jeffrey is not a family member, his character is intertwined, like is very intertwining, and as you talked about off air, is I can't wait. I don't know if it's going to be this season. Actually, there's only 2 more episodes. It may not be this season, but soon enough they're going to have to do an episode on just him, on his background, where he came from, mm-hmm. and to get a deeper look into Jeffrey. But first of all, they made Jeffrey Island man. So right there,
oh, it's a win.
I'm like, okay,
it's a win.
I was feeling it right from the beginning with that. And the guy's GQ, and when they had this guy, I don't. Are we going to get into?
Oh, well, Jeffrey, let's get into all
episodes?
Of it. Let's get it, because that's my most intriguing character too. So let's get into all of it.
When they had Jeffrey, basically ended that issue with Will. Oh. I was like, okay. I was like, yes, Jeffrey deserves to be on the same pillar as the rest of the characters, because you can't pull something like that and not have that come back in future episodes or seasons. Like, he's a fixer. He's not a butler. He's a fixer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. This guy's a fixer, just like in Billions. Remember, I can't remember the
Axis fixer. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Bobby Allen.
Exactly. I can't remember what his name is.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but Bobby Axelrod's fixer. Absolutely.
This guy's a switchblade. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever. This guy goes from finding Hillary at a birthday at a friend's house
Oh, you mean
to
Ashley? Yeah.
Ashley at a friend's house to making moves across the country.
Making
And
making people disappear.
exactly. So I'm
Yo,
like, yo, this
not
guy's a switchblade, man.
not to cut you off, but yo, when they found out when Will found out that dude was dead, yo, his expression, you're like, yo, I was laughing, even though I know it's a serious show, but I was laughing because you knew he was like, yo, what the did I just get into here, man? Like, you know what I mean?
Yo, when it ended, and that's how the episode ended. I'm actually surprised we haven't come back to that yet, because I thought that they really put me on pins and needles. I thought we would have got back to some kind of, not confrontation, but some kind of discussion, or nothing yet, right? So I'm like, okay, they're saving this because this is something that you can really turn the wheels with this with Jeffrey, right? And just in terms of like what he's about. How did him and Uncle Phil even meet? How did it? This wasn't no regular application to be a butler. Like, and
house manager, Headley, house manager.
Sorry, house manager. But he ain't no regular house manager.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really intrigued with Jeffrey, because you can tell they're gonna build this out a whole lot bigger than what it was in the comedy show.
Oh, there's a flashback episode, at least a 1 or 2 part flashback episode of his upbringing up until that. I could picture it now, from the upbringing, you know what I mean, from him in the streets, or if he was in the army or Navy SEALs or whatever it is. Whatever it is, the whole Secret Service 007 Jason Bourne thing, like how that's created to when he meets Uncle Phil, like that whole. There's a whole episode within that we need to see for sure, and it's funny, like you love both Jeffreys, right? But like for completely different reasons, right? Because the original Jeffrey was, as you said, like, like to touch on your point, like he was full of wisecracks, he was always underappreciated, and honestly, outside of him doing the lambada with Naomi Campbell in the first season, you never thought he did anything cool, right?
No, exactly.
But this version is a Jamaican Brit. He's full of swagger. He's full of seriousness. And you would never believe, that the old Jeffrey could knock off one of Aunt Viv's friends. You know what I'm
saying? Yo, when she was like, yo, Jeffrey's not here. You can stop looking. But yeah, the only thing that's comparable between the two, they both got beards, and they're both from Europe.
And they're both
That's
black.
About it.
Yeah. They're both on
and
Team
they're both
Dark
black.
Skin. That's it. That's as far as it goes.
That's as far as it goes, man. I'm really intrigued with that character. I'm really intrigued.
Okay, another episode where, the episode where when Uncle Phil and Lisa's dad are like stepping to each other at his his wife's part, like his ex-wife's party.
Yo, I had to laugh because I'm like, yo, this guy's like the police commissioner. They're really stepping up to this guy. They're gonna hurt him.
He's like, oh, you're gonna bring your muscle with you. I'm like, yo, who the hell is G, man? Like, we need more of this. Like, we need a deeper dive into his character for sure.
Yeah, man.
100%.
And again, he's a guy I have no idea who he is, but I love the character. I was like, yo, they picked a good one with him.
Now, obviously, like I said, I want to leave it here for now because, like I said, again, I want to revisit this in a couple of weeks. Where we dive deeper into like the storylines and everything else, as I mentioned before, including because I think right now in the age of content right now, we're seeing 2 shows, with Blackish being the one that's about to come off the air shortly, but like a show like Blackish and a show like Insecure being like for the last few years being probably amongst the top of black content in terms of black TV shows on TV, in terms of the quality of it, you know what I mean, the way it captured the culture and everything else. And I want to see what type of show is going to be the one that kind of fills its place, and I don't want you to answer it now, but I'm wondering if does this show have a potential to fill that void? You don't have to answer it now, but it's like that's something I kind of want to revisit, in a couple of weeks as well. Like, what type of shows is coming to fill that void of like an Insecure? Can it be filled, first of all? And then also, if it can, does a show like this, take the spot? It's going to be
it can, but I'm just saying, like, yo, people got to tune into it.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, as much as we like it, it's not going to survive if people. Actually, then again, I don't know what the ratings. I don't know. I don't even know how ratings even work anymore.
I know, but I think it's getting pretty good ratings though. I think people are watching it.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah. I'll say to anyone who's not, I'll be like, just watch it yourself, and come to your own conclusion, because I honestly saw like 4.5, 4.3 on 10. And I was like,
you saw 4.5 on 10, really?
Dude, I actually saw 4. I can't remember where I saw it, and I just shook my head. Like, I don't know if it was, mind you, I don't know if it was for the whole series or if it was for an episode, but there's nothing on the show as a 4 to me. So I was like, I just shook my head when I saw it. I was like, this is ridiculous.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. I didn't know it got that, but jeez, that's crazy. For 4. Nah, I'm like, it can't. Listen, man, I'm not saying we're TV show connoisseurs or anything like that, but I don't know. I feel like I said, like, we're having these offline discussions. I'm like, I'm feeling like this show is a lot better than what these critics are trying to say.
Yeah, same here. I agree completely.
Yeah, man. Well, let's wrap it up here for now. But like I said, we'll come back to this in a couple of weeks. But as always, thank you for hopping on the app for sure.
Just so you know, Uncle Phil's a Canadian, right?
Yes, Adrian Holmes. What show did he do again?
Shoot. It was in 1912 or 1219, something like that.
It was a police
show,
right?
A cop show. The cop show, in Montreal, based in Montreal. But it was crazy. I actually just real quick, I actually heard an interview about how he got the part. Actually, I don't know if you want to do this now.
Yeah,
I know you can edit.
You can tell the story. You can tell the story.
Yeah, he was saying he was in Vancouver doing a Christmas movie, and his agent, called him up. He's like, "Yo, there's an audition for Uncle Phil for the remake for Bel Air, a Fresh Prince of Bel Air, which is going to be called Bel Air." And he was actually confused. He's like, he doesn't exactly fit the profile of Phil, because he was like, 6'5", 300 pounds, right?
Right.
But he's like, yo, I'm not gonna turn down an audition, and it was actually a phone audition. So I think he did it on Zoom. So I think he did it like while on set when they're on break.
Wow.
He did it for, like, he said he think he might have been on the phone maybe 10 minutes with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. He didn't even tell us what it even consists of, but he was on the phone for 10 minutes, and then his agent a few weeks later told him, like, yo, you got the part. And he literally went in there, he's like, with no pressure, because he just felt like there's no way they're going to take me.
Right.
I don't exhume Phil as how you would think he would be based on the previous take of it, right? And he said he got it. He actually said it went real quick from audition until he was on set. As much as he says that, it works.
Yeah.
He might not have the look, but in terms of his disposition, how he talks to people, and again, this is 2022, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has that father figure authority. Like, it works. It works.
Yeah.
The same way Uncle Phil had it before, but just obviously in a different mannerism, right? But yeah. So it's pretty interesting, man.
No, it's a cool storyline, and like I said, that's something we're gonna definitely dive more into Uncle Phil's character. But anytime Uncle Phil can sit down in his room, vibe out, and listen to a Tribe Called Quest, it's a win for me. You know what I'm saying? Yep. It's a win for me right there.
This guy dancing on the line and everything, going back to his Greek days. Like, they're putting a little swag to Uncle Phil. You can see, you can definitely tell.
Yeah, and it's relatable. Like, that's what he would be as a 40-something, mid-40s black male in that type of prestige. Yeah, he's not exactly listening to Beethoven and jazz music. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. He's not dead, right? You know what I mean? Like you look at parents nowadays,
Yeah, we still well.
they're in the culture.
Yeah,
they're in the culture.
exactly.
Let's put it that way.
We're still in it. We're still in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for checking out the latest episode of the Ave Podcast. I appreciate you for checking out the Bel Air review / version of the Ave. And special shout out to South Shore Ave family member Headley for sharing his thoughts on part 1. Part 2 will be done in a couple of weeks. I believe the season finale is next Thursday, so it'll be done after that, like the week after that. So make sure you look out for it. Thank you as always for the support. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the reviews and leave comments. And check out my catalog of all my shows on SouthShoreAve.com. Once again, that's SouthShoreAve.com. All right, from my family member Headley, this is Cal C. And you just tuned into the Ave Podcast on South Shore Ave Radio. All right, until next week, peace and love. Have a great weekend. We out.